Welcome back. You're watching Early Starters on Operating TV. Like I told you before, bringing in my guest on the program this morning, I said is a constitutional and tax law expert, and he knows so much about that word tax. And like Yoruba people will say, it will simplify what we need to know about the Nigeria's latest tax reforms. And is no other but Dr. Kolawole Oyeka. Good morning, sir. How are you doing this morning? I don't need to speak too much English. Maybe you will teach me English, the Queen's English, right?
Maybe.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, let me quickly run you through his profile. And that is Dr. Kolawole holds a PhD degree, and he is a tax consultant and a UK chartered tax advisor. He is also a university lecturer. And I said we are going to be looking at the tax reform 2026, and the major topic for the day is legal insights on the NRS transition. What do we need to know about the transitioning of FIRS to NRS? People don't really know that this administration has a lot to offer, but then we are so quick to judge them because of the policies that are not, some of the policies, let me not just generalize it, some of the policies that are not favorable to almost every Nigerian. Like people will say that this one is not for the masses, this one is for the rich, and this one is specifically to deal with the poor masses. But I'm telling you that there is nothing of such. I am not trying to sell to you or try to tell you that this administration has good intentions, but we need to learn, we need to unlearn. There are some things that we really do not know. That's why we have analysts that will do justice to those things. So I'm going to be starting with the story that made rounds during the weekend, and also Thursday and Friday, and the story about President Bola Tinubu signing into law 4 sweeping tax reform bills, including the renaming of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, known as FIRS, to the Nigeria Revenue Service, now NRS. Speaking at the signing ceremony in Abuja, President Tinubu described the legislation as a turning point in Nigeria's economic journey. He stated that the reforms will reposition Nigeria for prosperity, boost business confidence, and signal that the country is ready and open for investment. It says the newly signed laws include Nigeria Tax Bill, Ease of Doing Business, Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, and Nigeria Revenue Service, that's the Establishment Bill, and finally the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. According to the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, the changes aim to simplify Nigeria's fragmented tax system, harmonize taxes across all levels of the government, and ensure better implementation through stakeholder participation. Oyedele confirmed that essential goods and services such as food, healthcare, education, transportation, and housing are now VAT exempt, accounting for over 80% of household spending. FIRS chairman Dr. Zak Adedeji described the reform as the happiest moment of his career, saying the new NRS will operate with broader responsibility and improved transparency. He notes that the 6-month transition before implementation in January 2026 will allow for adequate sensitization and alignment with national budget frameworks. Adedeji added that the NRS will focus on both tax and non-tax revenue collections, operating with enhanced autonomy and performance-driven standards. Senate President Godswill Akpabio commended the president's courage, likening the reform to the subsidy removal, and said the harmonization of over 70 different taxes would benefit vulnerable Nigerians and future generations. NECA Director General Adewale Smart Oyeride also welcomed the reforms, urging effective implementation. So let's see what the president has to say.
Of nation building, even the block work takes a bender and concrete cement to build the body. Is what you have provided is leadership and courage in the face of mounting dispute. Nowhere in the world that tax reform will be any easy. Some tax bills that might read in your textbooks might even sound sometimes like reading in English in Japanese. Very difficult. Twisted equations, reverse ideologies. At the end of the day, what you must land with is the hope to develop the people and show the right character towards the destination. We are in transit. We have changed the road. We have changed some of the misgivings. We have opened the door for new economy, business opportunity. We are showing that Nigeria is truly, truly ready and open for business. Easy in, easy out. And the question of our tax to GDP and all other formulas will be obsolete.
Meanwhile, NECA Director General Adewale Smart Oyeride welcomed the reforms, urging effective implementation. He says organized businesses have long pushed for tax harmonization and that the bills would promote organic economic growth across all sectors. However, the tax reforms officially take effect from January 1st, 2026. Sir, my question is, we have some ongoing, tax cases. So now that we have NRS, that's the first question. Now that we have NRS, what's going to happen to the ongoing tax, cases?
Okay, thank you.
Welcome,
I think
sir.
we need to start by looking at the tax bill itself. I think it's the right step in the right direction. Nigerian tax law, before now, has been updated, archaic, and they are, most of them, if not all, are products of military rule or even colonial.
That's the 1999 Constitution.
No, the
amended.
For example, the value-added tax.
Okay.
Was a decree made in 1993.
Okay.
So they only survived by virtue of the provision of the Constitution, which makes those decree becomes the laws of the Federation of Nigeria. So reforming them and or repealing those laws is a right step in the right direction, and this government should be commended for that. But then, to answer your question now, on the cases, the NRS, that is not Nigeria Revenue Service, is a body corporate with perpetual succession. So nothing has changed. It inherits the liability and assets of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. So the cases that are existing goes on as if nothing has changed. It also, how do I put it? This National Revenue Service has wider power. So, and don't forget also that this...
It has wider power. Okay, okay.
And don't forget also that it comes into effect in 1st of January,
January 2026. Yes.
So everything goes on as it is because it inherits the asset and liabilities.
All right, so let's pick it from the wider power. Now, what's legal shift, or should I say, yes, I think I'm in the right direction.
Yes.
So what legal shift does this NRS law introduce, now that you just mentioned that it has, wider power?
Yes. From the name, Nigeria Revenue Service.
Okay.
Before now,
Federal Inland
Revenue Service.
But then anything that has federal on it means Nigeria.
Yes,
so what's the difference?
No, the difference is that it means federal.
Okay.
Because we have
it does not affect
the state.
Okay, that's why we have the LIRS
and all that in all the statistics of the federation. We are still coming to that. There is a big issue on that.
All right.
So now the Nigeria Revenue Service has wider power because it seems that it will be able to take all the revenue, collect and access including the local, the state. No, not the state.
Okay.
Just the federal.
Just the federal.
Just federal taxes. Initially the FRS deal with VAT.
Okay.
Petroleum profit tax, companies income tax, and all those conventional taxes.
Okay, sir.
But with this law now, even the custom duties will definitely come under Nigeria Revenue Service. So the custom should be getting ready to hands off of revenue of the federal government of Nigeria. So, and that's why it has wider power. It's a big entity. It will handle all the revenue of the federal government of Nigeria.
Okay.
Both taxes and non-taxes. FRS deal with taxes alone. As I said,
yes.
Peter, Sita, and all that.
All right,
but with this now, both taxes and non-taxes comes to the Nigeria Revenue Service.
All right,
and I think that's a switch.
I think that brings me to the joint revenue board under this law. So I would like to know, every Nigerian would like to know the legal mandates behind this joint revenue board.
You see, before we even go to joint revenue tax board, there's an issue. The issue we have now is that this body has been existing before. I think under Section 84 of the Personal Income Tax Act, it was created, and they are to deal with tax policies that affect both the federal and the state. Although they've not been effective, but with this new law now, we hope that things will change, and then they'll be able to assess and then deal with issue of conflict that may arise between the federal and the state. Look at the issue of personal income tax. It's a federal tax.
Yes, it's a federal tax.
And it's being handled by the state. The state collect those taxes, and then there are some legal issues which has to do with residency, and which has not been resolved for years. And I think with this law now, the joint tax board will be able to solve.
Let me bring in let me bring it home to the Tiwantiwa thing, which is every Nigerian, we go to the mall, we buy, stuff, and at the end of the day, when we pay our, our due, money, the money we are meant to pay, there is this value of the tax.
Yes.
As an ordinary Nigerian, believing that, the removal of the value added tax, I put it on the Twitter yesterday, and people are asking, is it that we will not be paying all this VAT on our regular, purchase at the mall or some places that we need to, do the payment transaction and the VAT thing? And also, when it comes to the telecommunications industry, there are some charges that, they get from our regular 1,000 to 2,000 naira and all. Is it that as an ordinary Nigerian, I'm not going to be paying that? Because you are taking it to the legal thing. Now, let's bring it back to the only Nigerian thing.
I will say, don't rejoice yet. Don't rejoice yet. Because there are issues that are hidden to Nigerians. The basic food items, and that has been the law before. Basic food items are exempted from VAT. Yes, or some people call it consumption tax. Because the government says that, look, you spend most of your income, as a local income earner, you spend most of your income on basic food items. You go to the mall, you buy chicken and chips, you buy food items and all that. Those items will be exempted from VAT. But they are dealing only with basic food items. And then, do you know that by 2030, you'll be paying 15% VAT.
No longer 6%.
No, it's 7.5 now, and then you'll be paying 15% by.
Oh my good Lord!
So, if you are a low-income earner, and all you could do with your money, just make sure you restrict yourself to buying basic items. If you attempt to buy a television set of 1 million naira, you'll be paying 150,000 naira as VAT on that on that.
And that means we should no longer patronize the malls. I realize that when I buy stuff, you know, from the ordinary Chinedu and Karimo, I don't pay the tax as an ordinary Nigerian. But when I step my feet into the mall, I pay the VAT, and the VAT affects me. It makes my money go higher. And I ask the question, why am I paying this? And now you are saying that we should brace up for another, increase coming year 2030.
You know, when you don't pay VAT on those items from Chinedu and so on, it was because Chinedu is not registered with the FRS. No, it does not pay tax. It's in the informal sector. So when you're in the informal sector, nobody comes after you. And that is why some of us have argued that, look, VAT should be reserved for the state to collect it. It's another argument entirely.
Please, let's do the argument here.
Okay.
Let's learn. Because, sir, I want to bring up this, as an ordinary Nigerian who has a CAC certificate and I'm registered, and there is this JMAB or something, and the regular FIRS, registration number that you get your tax identification number and all of those things. And I sometimes, as a Nigerian, we feel like, okay, since I've registered my my limited or my ordinary business, am I mandated to go register or get my TIN, which is the tax identification number? So because I've come to realize that a lot of people have CAC registration but no TIN. So please help us, simplify that to our own understanding. We are laymen, so we need to know, like you just mentioned, and the major challenges that we need to know about the LIRS and the FIRS, like you want to bring it up.
Nigeria is a federal system.
All right, sir.
And although it's a strange federal system, in the sense
that I need to understand that.
I call it a strange federal system because it lacks, our system lacks the basic element of federal system of government.
Lacks the basic element.
We'll still come to that anyway. The fact that you registered your company with the Corporate Affairs Commission does not exclude you from paying tax. Of course, you get your TIN, and TIN is regulated by the FRS and the State Inland Revenue Service too. But that's another thing. But the point is that if you look at the state, no tax was exclusively reserved for the state in the 1999 Constitution. You cannot point. If I ask you now to tell me one state tax in Nigeria, you can't mention one.
Yes, because we are not aware of it.
All states belongs to the federal in Nigeria, and that's why I call it a strange federal system. So coming to the issue of VAT.
But now, sir, sorry for, now that the president says we have autonomy, bringing out to the local government, because I want you to infuse all of that into your answer. And he's saying practically that the state can also do stuff on their own payment of salary, and nursing power and their resources and all of those things. Is it that we are not going to get a new face of this whole thing?
You see, we are not there yet. And I can tell you authoritatively that before the end of next dispensation, this law will be amended again. You see, there are critical issues that we need to look at. The critical issue is this: Nigeria owns a federal system of government. And in a federal system of government, it's presumed that power is shared between the federal and the state, so that each state exists as an independent state in their country. So you have an independent state within an independent country. But then in Nigeria, all the taxes belongs to the federal. The value-added tax is a federal tax. The personal income tax is a federal tax. The company's income tax is a federal tax. Now, if you look at the 1999 Constitution, there are 67 items exclusively reserved for the federal government, while the state has like 30 or 33. In those concurrent lists reserved for the state, there is no single taxing power. And that is the challenges. Now, we thought the federal government will make the opportunity of this law to reserve some state, some powers to the state, so that state can also generate revenue on their own and do not rely on federal government. Now, as we have today now, every state in Nigeria get their income from the federal government. They get monthly allocation at the end of the month. So the Nigeria of our dream is a Nigeria where the state on their own will be able to generate taxes and they manage their affairs. Let me tell you, if the federal government stop giving federal allocation to the state, no state will survive. Maybe Lagos will survive. Ogun State governor once said this some months ago. So the point now is, but unfortunately, with this law now, we have some good innovations introduced under this law. But the disappointing part was that we thought the government would make this opportunity to reserve certain taxes to the state, so that we get to that fiscal federalism. We get to
so that means with this tax reform, there are none, reserved for the state.
Do you know of anyone?
I don't know about the law.
There's no any tax for the state. That is why I'm saying that it's a federal system, but it runs as a unitary system, disguising as a federal system, because there's no single tax for the state. As Lagos, and that's why if you are talking of buying something from Shinedu, now you are going to pay consumption tax in Lagos State. You are also going to pay VAT, and VAT and consumption tax are almost all the same tax. Are you getting it? So if you buy chicken and chips from KFC, look at your receipt. You receive VAT and you also see consumption tax. Yes, about double taxation. So it would have been better if we leave the entire VAT in the hands of the state. But then, I've spoken to so many experts on tax. They will give you reasons why it will not work. They will give you thousands of reasons why it will not work. But they will underestimate the benefit of having VAT excluded from the laws of the Federation of Nigeria and reserved for the state. I'm looking forward to a Nigeria where the state will give loan to the federal. And how will this happen? It's when you have a vibrant state that can generate tax on their own, that can manage their affairs. The issue of tin should not even be an issue. It should be a simple thing that you should get from the state upon registering your companies and so on. So we are not here yet, and that's why
because now we have agencies that will do the registration for you and then tell you that you need to go to FIRS to go and get your TIN and JTAB. I want to remember JMAB or JTAB or something that it's likened to your tax identification number. That if you have that, then you can, But there are no regulations in place that says that when you do your due diligence of, registering the business, get the tax immediately, the identification number, immediately for you to start doing your commitment as a patriotic Nigerian. But then I just hope that one day soon we all will be that patriotic Nigerian. Let's go on a short break. When we return, we'll bring you more insightful conversation from early starters. Stay tuned.
Blue Lagoon Hotels, a home away from home with world-class hospitality, comfortable and affordable rooms, conference and meeting rooms for all occasions, open space and co-working area, 24-hour restaurant and bar, providing both local, international and continental cuisines, live music and entertainment on regular basis, constant power supply and watertight security in and around our premises. Blue Lagoon Hotels, situated at number 16 Tunji Adewoye Street off Afurubin Road, Ijegun, Lagos State. And for the inquiries, call 080-5668-7855 or 080-6527-3657. You can also visit us at www.bluelagoonhotels.ng. Blue Lagoon Hotels. Hospitality is our business. KG5F Security Services. We are dependable, reliable, proficient, and gallant always. KG5F Security Services, officially licensed by the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Our services include general office security, personal security, asset protection, protocol services, physical security, aviation security, loss prevention, escort protection, security patrols, and access control. We are available 24/7. KG5F Security Services also provide installation of security gadgets such as CCTV camera, alarms, special communication equipment, and so on. Gallant security personnel are needed nationwide with attractive working benefits. Contact KG5F Head Office at 45 Prince Adeyemi Street off Governors Road, Ikotun, Lagos, or our branch office 25 Yaya Baton Road, adjacent Nationwide Petrol Station, Ogba, Lagos. Call 09161514318 for inquiries. KG5F Security Services, to serve and protect.
Welcome back. You're still watching Early Starters, and you know that Dr. Kolawole Oyeko made a very, very interesting statement, and that statement is that our kind of federalism, lacks the basic elements of a federal system. And I begin to ask that, sir, can you please expatiate that? Our kind of federalism, because I've heard someone said also that okay, we adopted the U.S. parliamentary system, but this is not what they are doing.
Yes.
Now you're bringing the governance aspect of Early Starters into tax reform. Can you please expatiate?
Okay.
So while he's expatiating, phone line is open for you to join the conversation, and the topic remains tax reforms 2026, legal insight on the NRS transition. The number to call is 0903-539-8622. I take it again, 0903-539-8622. Please join the conversation, and Dr. Oyeko is ready to answer your questions. Sir.
Yes. On the issue of the federal system,
all right, sir.
Let's break it down now.
Yes, sir.
To a layman's level. The federal system, we talk of a system where there are national and subnational units. So you have the federal and you have the other subnational government. It might be 2 or 3. In the case of Nigeria, it's 3. We have the federal, the state,
and the local
government. So the idea behind the federal system of government is that each of these units, with the national and the state, will be independent on their own. They can manage their affairs. They have their own taxes. Although with a little control from the federal, but they are independent states existing within an independent state. But in the case of Nigeria, now let's go back to the US. In the US, the states in the US are almost independent. Almost absolutely independent. Let's look at the issue of VAT that I mentioned. There's no VAT in the US, but there's sales tax. And each state manage their own sales tax. In fact, some states do not even have sales tax at all. But in Nigeria, what do you have? You have a federal system where all powers belongs to the federal government, with nothing left for the state. Public holiday is to be declared by the federal government. All taxes that you know in Nigeria belongs to the federal government. Natural resources belongs to the federal government. Petroleum resources, everything that you can mention belongs to the federal government.
And none to the state.
None to the state at all. And then how do you just survive? You have 36 states in Nigeria. At the end of the month, each of the states in Nigeria goes to Abuja to collect monthly allowance. They come back, they pay their salary staff, they do some current and capital expenditure, and that's all. They wait for the month end again. And they go every month like a student going to collect handout or monthly allowance from the federal. So that's what has been going on. Now, do you know that as we speak now, between 1999 to 2024, there are 40 proposals before the National Assembly for the creation of additional 40 states. Some of these states will come into effect very soon, Ijebu states and so on. So when you have these states joined to the taxes that you Joy, I think you're happy about that. So when you have these states along with the 36 that you have, what happens to them? They all rely on what? The federal government for survival. And that, how do you have a development in your country as a sort of this? So we look forward to having a state that will be independent, vibrant and independent, that will not rely on the federal government for survival. Let me tell you today, if the federal government stop giving allowance today, if the federal government is broke, the states are broke too. If they have money at the federal, there's money at the state level too. So they all rise together and they all fall together. So we are looking forward to a state where the state will be independent, manage their affairs, and be able to pay. In Ethiopia, there's merger of states.
Yes, I read about.
Yes, there's merger of states. Look, any state that cannot, because when you bring this idea of state independence, some people tell you, some states cannot survive. There are some states we naturally tied, in quote, if there's no federal location. But then that is why we should have merger of states in our constitution. So that if there's any state that cannot survive, the states can easily merge with the nearby. And El-Rufai committee set up by the federal government, by the APC government, I think in 2015, made that proposal. Look,
I think tribalism will not let us, do the merger of states.
That you may face. But then that is the best thing. It's done in Utopia. If you cannot survive as a state, if Ekiti cannot survive, merge with Ondo state and form a vibrant state, rather than waiting and... So development, everybody is concentrating on the federal for development. But let's look to the state. When did you hear about any state complaining of fund now that they cannot pay salaries of their workers? Because since the time we stopped subsidy, the states have been getting enough money from the federal. But does that translate to good governance at the state level?
That's the question. Does that translate to good governance? So, sir, how can we, harmonize all of these tax powers? How can we harmonize it to get the better results that we are yearning
The best
for?
way we can do it is for us to reserve certain tax for the state and stop allocation to the federal. It's going to be a huge challenge, but we could project towards the next 10 years. So say, look, every state collect value-added tax in your state. Collect the value-added tax and keep it to yourself. Develop yourself and then maintain yourself. You can come to the federal if you need support, but not like you have it every month. Because allocation to the state now is permanent. As long as Nigeria exists, every state will get allocation every month. It's permanent. But let's now look for a state that will manage their own affairs, get their own money themselves. And this reform could have been an opportunity to say, okay, state manage your VAT, even personal income tax. Make your law, manage your, Ogun State can collect 10% as personal income tax. Lagos State can say, okay, I'm taking 15%. Let's there be competition. Competition brings development. First of all, the competition will bring inequality. Some states will be richer than some other states.
Yes.
But that inequality brings competition. And when there's competition, there's what? There's development. But what do we see in Nigeria today? They all rise together and they all fall together. Because how many states can generate funds locally?
They all rise and fall together. That's a very big one, but I just hope that someday we have a country that can, a state that can stand on its own without federal location. And thank God you mentioned one very, very, should I say, let me use the word, important state in Nigeria, which is Lagos State. And Lagos State is doing, well. And Kano, Lagos and Kano. And I think Port Harcourt is also, doing well in that area. And, just one day we will have a better Nigeria. To join this conversation, please call this number 0903 539 8622 0903 539 8622. Now my question is, and it's a very big one, very big question, because of we all are the taxpayers.
Yes.
And whether or not you are paying your tax directly or indirectly, you are paying a tax. So how is our rights and due process being protected? The tax right.
Yes. When you talk about tax is imposed for 3 reasons: to generate revenue, for the distribution, and for the provisions of basic amenity. The best right you can talk about here is the provision of basic amenities to the people. So when you pay tax to the people, to the government, what you are expecting in return is what? Expecting the basic amenities.
That we will not beg for.
Yeah, you not beg for.
Rather get it freely.
You want good road, you want good education, you want health system and all that. Now, and that's why I said we still have a long way to go with this bill. It's a right step in the right direction. I think it's good that we have harmonized all the laws. If you are looking for any tax in Nigeria now, you can go straight to Nigeria Tax Act and say, okay, unlike what we have before. But then, with this issue, if you want to bring development to Nigeria, look at the issue of tertiary education trust fund, TET fund.
TET fund, yes.
2% of accessible profit of companies in Nigeria is what goes to TET fund. If not for TET fund, education will have collapsed in Nigeria. Totally. There will be no education in Nigeria again.
Because in every university you see the TET fund building, TET fund project.
So,
and TUBEB.
Yes, tax law in 2025 now, or 2024, are now linked to development. I was thinking that we could do something like National Health Trust Fund, where 2% of all the VAT that you get in Nigeria goes to that National Health Trust Fund, so that they can provide basic health amenities to the people. In that way, you have tied the tax you have collected from people to development.
Sorry, sir, I have a question in that direction, because the Lagos State government just, now for like 2 years ongoing now, launched the Ilera Eco. Is it that it is from the taxes, generated, or the revenue generated that they are helping, ordinary Lagosians? And another thing is that, is it that we're going to be enjoying the health, thing outrightly without having to pay? Because in that Ilera Eco, you have to pay more than, there is a slated amount. That's where I'm going. There is a slated amount you pay. And then the Lagos State government will add up if you have any health issue and all of those things. So as an ordinary Nigerian, if we get to adopt that, thing you just mentioned, Are we just going to be enjoying it free of charge?
Why can't we
without paying?
Why can't we enjoy it free of charge? Why can't we? We can. You know, you see, good governance is a conscious effort to do the right thing.
So how can we do it as a government now? I'm not asking as a Nigerian, as a government, because we don't know who is watching us.
Yes.
How can they do it? How can they help we, the citizens? You know.
And that's what the point I was trying to make. That look, we have the National Nigerian Tax Act, and then by 2030, I will be paying 15% VAT on any good that I consume. You will be paying 15% VAT. And then when the chairman of the committee was talking, that's he was saying that let's generate the money for the government and let the government determine how to spend it. And I disagree with him on that. Say, look, the best thing to do is to make sure that this fund is tied directly to the provisions of infrastructure. Like the health issue that we have mentioned, what stops us from having National Health Trust Fund in the law? And then when you generate that VAT, you take 2% of that VAT straight, just like you are paying TET Fund 2% of accessible profits of all companies in Nigeria. Give 2% to National Health Trust Fund, and then let's provide basic amenities to the people free of charge. We can do it. In the UK, NHS is the largest employer of labor, and no less than 25% of the budget of the UK government goes to NHS. You can be treated free of charge over anything. It's only people that are sick that will go to hospital. If you have a 5-year-old child that is sick today now, is there any hospital in Nigeria that you can take the child to and have free healthcare?
Healthcare.
I don't need to get money to be alive.
Is that why people are jackpying to other countries?
Maybe that's one of the things. Everything's not about money. Sometimes it's about good quality life.
So the conflicts now. I like to ask that question because there's an ongoing NRS mandate conflict with other agencies. Legally speaking, what would you say as regards that?
Between the
yes, other agencies and the NRS, the newly renamed
of course the
service.
The act has already settled the matter. National Nigeria Revenue Service. So all the revenue goes through the NRS again now, so there will be no conflict. There will be no conflict again. So the custom will hand over all other agencies that are generating the revenue to the government. We have to hand over to NRS, and that's what it means. And then that is huge. And I don't know how we are going to checkmate the NRS itself because absolute power corrupts absolutely. So there will need for the board and for the National Assembly to rise up to these challenges that we may face with the NRS in the future because it's going to be huge. We're going to place all the revenue of the nation on a single body.
So now that we have the reform in place and it will take effect January 1st, how do we brace up? What's your advice to every Nigerian this morning? Because I can see that some people are trying to reach us here at the studio. I can't really say, maybe it's the network or something, but you can send your messages to the number on the screen, 0903-539-8622. Then we'll forward it to Dr. Oyekon for answers to these questions. Or please join the conversation, 0903-539-8622. And if you cannot join the conversation because Dr. Oyekon will be leaving the studio right about now, and you can just drop your messages or do well to comment on our Facebook, on our YouTube, and of course our watch us live on Niger TV app for you to tell us what you feel about the tax reforms. And that's it been displayed on the screen, Niger TV app. You can watch us live on your mobile devices, both Android and Apple phone, by downloading the Niger TV app. Watch us everywhere, anywhere, anytime, any day, across the globe and across Nigeria. We are your very best TV friend. We can be your bestie, don't worry. Just download the app, then watch us live wherever. Dr. Oyekon, I really appreciate your candid opinion on this tax reform. Thank you very much, sir. And it's very insightful. Even though I can see that you are trying to help us, the layman, and not to use your legal parlance, and all of those things is, we are looking forward to a better Nigeria, like you said. And we are praying that one day, soonest, we will have that system that will avail us the basic amenities that we need to, have as a regular Nigeria, and everything we need to enjoy from this, in quotes, our different or strange federal system. So how do you close your words to our viewers in the house about the tax reform, how best they can embrace it, and what we need to do right?
For individuals, pay your tax always, and then ask questions. Ask questions from your state governors, ask questions from the federal government, ask questions from your local government. And then for business owners to file your return, pay your tax, and take advantage of the incentives in the tax laws to reduce your tax that's payable to you. And then also ask questions. The problem is that we don't ask questions. We don't.
Because I was about asking that.
Don't ask questions.
So what if nobody's asking me to pay my tax? I now walk up to them. I want to give you, and I'm not enjoying the basic amenities as an ordinary Nigerian.
Someone said, I think Benjamin Franklin said, two things are certain in this world: debt and taxes. You don't have to be told to pay your tax. It's a responsibility for everybody. But then people don't like paying tax. Why? Because they think it's not even important. And then when you ask them, they tell you, what am I even gaining by paying tax? In the UK, you don't tell people to pay tax. I'm happy paying tax. I'm so happy each time they deduct tax from my income, because we could see the benefits.
But in a way, people feel that
the benefits.
Yes, the benefits, right?
See the benefits.
Sorry for cutting you short there. The benefits, fine, but then I feel our people think that, okay, instead of paying my tax to the government, let me just pay my tithes to God, because I'm enjoying more from God than what I enjoy from the government.
That's another topic entirely.
It's another topic.
I don't want to go to that. I don't want to go to that.
So you can wrap up, please.
You should pay your tax always. And I think the new bill, when it law now, the act now, when it takes effect in January 2026, we are going to see some challenges, we are going to see some benefits, and I think as we put it in practice.
What's the ratio of the challenges and the benefits?
Let me tell you about the benefit. The benefit is that you now have our tax law harmonized. If you are looking for anything, you just go straight to Nigeria Tax Act. Unlike when you have it scattered in all, that's a good benefit, and then it will help businesses to know what is due to pay to the government.
So the challenges now?
The challenges are numerous. Number one, the benefit. Because this tax is only asking for more money from the people. But what are you giving back to the people? VAT is going to be 15% by 2030. 15% of VAT, that's huge. And then what am I getting in return? What benefit, what is the plan on ground? What have you tied those taxes to? The proceeds of those taxes, what have you tied it to for the benefit of the people? Those are the issue. Then the state, should we continue like this? Should the state continue to rely on the federal government? This law only centralizes our tax power, more power to the federal government. The same thing people have been complaining about, that centralization of tax power should stop. We should bring some tax down to the state. Why should we take a bottle of Coca-Cola in Lagos here and pay VAT to Abuja? Why don't you pay to Lagos state government? So those are the issues, and I think as time goes on, we might get to that stage. And that's why I said that law will still be amended.
So what kind of tax can we have, scheduled for the local government? Because I'd like to know.
For the state, VAT, because that's the way it's been done in the US. It is called sales tax in the US. Every state has their own VAT. Personal income tax. If you have those two states, you see, you can finance the budget of Nigeria with VAT. It's huge.
But now I'm talking about the local governments. We are dwelling more on the state and the federal. The local government.
The local government in Nigeria cannot manage VAT. Even the state.
Even with the autonomy, they cannot manage it.
They dare not. They cannot manage it.
Sir, this is what I just said. They dare not.
Cannot manage.
Why? There must be, reasons.
It's numerous. It's huge. I just told you that we can finance the budget from Nigeria, and that is why the federal government will not let go of it. It is huge. It involves so much technicalities. The local government cannot. They should just stick to their rates and all local.
And we can't even get officials in that directive.
Let's even talk about the state. Can the state even manage it? But then there's no harm in trying. There's no harm in trying because it's been done.
So are you saying that LIRS is not managing that which is given, is paid to the states? Let's come to Lagos state government now. Is LIRS not managing it well?
Of course they are doing well. They are doing fine, and that's why I said if
you are making your point, I would like you to
my
look
point
at some.
is that if you give VAT to the state can manage VAT better. because they know businesses. They know. Just mention Chinedu now. Yeah, you didn't pay tax. The FRS may not be able to spread its
Tentacles,
its tax net to those at the informal sector. But if you give it to the state knows everywhere. The state can make sure that everybody pay tax, either you're informal sector or you're informal sector. But the federal inland revenue may not be able to do that. And then when states do that, there's more money to the state. When they do that, you have more money at the state level. The states can manage their own affairs, and then you don't have to rely on the federal government.
But then we have some at the formal, sector that does this kind of tax waiver and all of those things. Because I remember some time ago, Yabo Ojo declared that the Lagos state government says she should come and pay a certain amount of tax.
That's personal income tax.
That's personal income, and she was charged some millions.
Yes.
And then she said no, blah blah blah, and every of those things went down the drain. We didn't even get to hear it. Maybe she paid or so. And then also in the US, I'm being told that some people don't even pay the tax.
Of course, some
states they do a kind of tax waiver, and we have a lot happening in Nigeria. The tax waiver. Now let's look at the formal sector now. How can we, the ordinary citizen, know that they are really doing their own, payment of the tax, and what they are giving to us, the government now, what the government is giving to us, to ensure that we know that. Okay, let me bring it down to this level. I can remember a particular church in Nigeria, then said from the proceeds. So they decided to construct a road for the people along that axis. And when they brought the case up, the federal government says, no, they cannot. You understand what I'm trying to say. So now that you understand what I'm trying to say, so how can all of these things be harmonized? That's what I want to know.
You see, it's simple.
Okay.
Pay your tax and ask questions, as I said. Ask
How do we ask the question?
There's freedom of information. There's freedom of information. You could just send a letter to the internal revenue and ask questions that bothers you.
Like I can just send a letter.
They answer you. The Freedom of Information Act allows you to do that. You ask questions.
I hope they will not pick me up later.
They won't pick you up. Nobody will pick you up. Just ask questions, pay your tax and ask questions.
Okay.
Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Pay your tax and ask questions. And then the issue of payment of tax in Nigeria, we are just developing on that level. 10 years ago, nobody's talking about tax. Do you know that between 2022 and 2024, we generated more revenue from non-tax oil tax?
I'd like to learn more about that. Please key on to that very statement that you just made. Let's go on a very, very quick break. When we return, it will continue with that. A very quick break.
KG5F Security Services. We are dependable, reliable, proficient, and gallant always. KG5F Security Services, officially licensed by the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Our services include general office security, personal security, asset protection, protocol services, physical security, aviation security, loss prevention, escort protection, security patrols, and access control. We are available 24/7. KG5F Security Services also provide installation of security gadgets such as CCTV camera, alarms, special communication equipment, and so on. Gallant security personnel are needed nationwide with attractive working benefits. Contact KG5F Head Office at 45 Prince Adeyemi Street off Governors Road, Ikotu, Lagos, or our branch office 25 Yaya Baton Road, adjacent Nationwide Petrol Station, Ogba, Lagos. Call 09161514318 for inquiries. KG5F Security Services, to serve and protect. Blue Lagoon Hotels, a home away from home with world-class hospitality. comfortable and affordable rooms, conference and meeting rooms for all occasions, open space and co-working area, 24-hour restaurant and bar, providing both local, international and continental cuisines, live music and entertainment on regular basis, constant power supply and watertight security in and around our premises. Blue Lagoon Hotels, situated at number 16 Tunji Adewoye Street, off Afurubin Road, Ijegun, Lagos State. And for the inquiries, call 080-5668-7855 or 080-6527-3657. You can also visit us at www.bluelagoonhotels.ng. Blue Lagoon Hotels. Hospitality is our business.
Welcome back. You're still watching Early Starters, and in the studio this morning is Dr. Oyekon, who has been doing justice to the Nigeria tax reform that will take effect in 2026. And now that Akpabio has embraced the reform, NECA President Director General rather Adewale Smart Oyerinde embraced it also, and Adedeji, the FIRS chairman, embraced it, and finally the committee chairman, that's Taiwo Oyedele. And then we mentioned that if all of those things, the formal and informal sector, that brings us to the story of the church who is trying to and then you were trying to let us into what we are meant to enjoy as an ordinary Nigerian, and also what the government needs to let us in on about the tax issue. So you can pick it up from there, sir.
As I said earlier, pay your tax and ask questions. And then when this law comes into effect, the benefits are huge, the challenges are also there. And I pray that before the end of the next dispensation, the law will be amended. We will see the challenges as it comes into effect. But the basic thing is that you were talking about the church that intends to construct. You can't do that because you may do that as your corporate social responsibility. But of course, it has to be with the consent or the permission of the government. But then that doesn't stop you from paying the tax that is due to the government, except you want to use that as a capital project instead of paying tax. Dangote used to do that a lot. So instead of paying certain taxes, then you might construct some kilometers of road.
So that's the way the people at the formal sector, pay their own task.
If it's arranged with the FRS, if there's an agreement. But the proper thing is for you to file your return and you pay your tax to the government. That's how it's done all over the world.
All right.
File your return every year and pay your tax. So as time goes on, we'll see the benefit that comes with this tax law. Okay,
for the Lydia that is, in the informal sector, how can we collect our tax go from her?
From who?
Lydia, the one at the informal sector. All right.
You see, the informal sector is huge in Nigeria, and we need to do something about it too. Nobody's looking at the informal sector. You could see someone selling things at the roadside.
Making loads of money. Yes, in fact, online.
Lots of them. But as I said earlier, tax is still developing. Nigeria is still developing on it. Even in the UK too, there's these challenges there too. People sell things online and they don't pay taxes. You can't spread your net to everybody at the same time. But as time goes on, I think the NRS now, when it comes to effect, will be able to spread their tax net to all those sectors.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oyekon. Yes, thank you very much, sir. You've really done the very, very best of. Is it adjudication? Yeah, so this very topic, Nigeria tax reform 2026, and he actually took us through the very basic things we need to know about the tax. We hope to have you some other time, sir, and when we call you will answer. Thank you very much, sir. You come from the UK again, okay? And you come and try our business style here in Nigeria.
Nigeria is a good fertile ground for
business.
If only we could manage our affairs well and well coordinated in handling the affairs of business and small and medium enterprises. And
also paying taxes to the government so that we can enjoy our basic amenities. Early Starters, we'll be right back with Lydia Ajayi as we will be rounding up later when we return. Please stay tuned.
Blue Lagoon Hotels, a home away from home with world-class hospitality, comfortable and affordable rooms, conference and meeting rooms for all occasions, open space and co-working area, 24-hour restaurant and bar, providing both local, international and continental cuisines, live music and entertainment on regular basis, constant power supply and watertight security in and around our premises. Blue Lagoon Hotels, situated at number 16 Tunji Adewoye Street, off Afurubin Road, Ijegun, Lagos State. And for the inquiries, call 080-5668-7855 or 080-6527-3657. You can also visit us at www.bluelagoonhotels.ng. Blue Lagoon Hotels. Hospitality is our business.
Thanks for staying tuned with us on Early Starters at, it's not really funny. Nigeria is really doing great, but then are we really enjoying the basic, benefits as a Nigerian? Are we getting what we are meant, to enjoy from the government? Am I paying my tax? Are you paying your tax? Are you ready to do the needful? That's the big question. Even if you make money online or from the offline community, are you doing your due diligence? Because that's a very, very big question that people do not want to answer. And Lydia Ajayi from the informal sector. All right, Lydia, good morning once again. I can see that you learned a lot from that session.
I did, I was just in my corner then,
But yeah, quickly give us your entertainment story before I will charge you for tax on that one.
Don't tag me for tax, no.
I will tax you.
So from the entertainment world, I have several G's. That is my work.
The king of all the G's is what
sir.
you want.
Okay, so the king of all the G's, it's on a sad note, but I still have to talk about it. So the renowned Nigerian film and stage producer Kayode Peters, I'm sure we've heard the news.
Coco
has reportedly died in Canada. His passing was confirmed on Friday by a popular comedian.
What happened? That is what I want to know.
He had a brief illness. I think he was sick in Canada and he died. So he gained recognition for directing and producing several hit-stage plays and sitcoms, most notably Extended Family and the classic early 2000s comedy series Flatmates. So widely regarded as trailblazer in contemporary Nigerian entertainment, Peters' influence shaped the careers of many actors and comedians. So may his soul rest in peace.
Not just his soul, his gentle soul. In fact,
really sad.
He's a very lovable person. He was actually. He was a great man, known by all. Somebody mentioned him to me yesterday. Did you know that about Akayode? I said, I read about it. And Larry was like, what do me go? I'm so sad.
And this is
people that knows, or have a one-on-one contact relationship with Kayode Peters says he's a very, very down-to-earth
Even the Bible
person.
says,
sometimes it's not the Olorun. Sometimes we can't just question God. That's
just it.
But the truth is, God wants us to enjoy longevity. The Lord does not want to cut us short. But we just hope that the devourer and the one after every mankind will not pick us up and devour us soonest. On this note, we'll be wrapping up today's episode of Early Starters. See you tomorrow morning with another barrister. Bye-bye.